Yamunatiravanachari Radhamadhava Kunjabihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatiravanachari
Vanachari
Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Tyler, do you think you could open those yeah, and then open the window, please? And also the one in the kitchen, the window kitchen. Man. Okay, so we're continuing ISKCON Disciple course, and we are on page 46, lesson 9, Guru Seva. So Guru is teacher, Seva, service, right? Lesson topics, qualification of a disciple, Guru Seva and service to ISKCON, meeting obligations in a balanced manner. Sevaya. Just like if you purchase something, you must pay for it. Therefore, it is called Sevaya. You cannot pay by returning. Dedicate your life for his service. You cannot pay what you have got to pay to a spiritual master. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So we're on page 46, lesson 9. Just read the first quote. So Serbi and Michelle should be attending today in person, and I think they'll need another table.
Should we set it up ahead of time right now?
Well, they should be attending, so.
Let's just move to the. Okay, we can move to the couch.
You're gonna move to the couch?
We thought about that before.
I don't think that's good.
Okay. Yeah, so we should wait at the table.
Yeah, you could just go get a table real quick. Couch, you might fall asleep. You know? Hare Krishnas have a tendency to fall asleep
Especially with my
during class.
your wives. You know us well.
Oh, such a nice class. It's so peaceful. So peaceful that I'm falling asleep. All devotees, kind of get up early. They have a saying: if you want to put devotees to sleep, there's certain mantras. Like in deity worship, they have mantras that you chant to put before you put the deities to rest, and they have mantras that you chant to wake up the deities. So they say that the mantra to put devotees to sleep is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Put them to sleep. It said the mantras to wake devotees up is Sharira Avidujo is that mantra chant before prasadam. Anyways, of course, not everybody falls asleep during class, but I was just saying, couch is kind of also that futon's like sinking or something. Anyways, all right. So Guru Seva in service to ISKCON. So it's a writing exercise. List in the table below. All right. So there's two sections. One section: ways we can serve the mission of ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Ways we can serve our Guru. So we could just list some. Just doing the first exercise there. All right, so there's the left side of the room and there's the right side of the room. So how about the left side of the room? Devotees on the left side of the room, do you want to share ways we could serve ISKCON? Or how about, can you share ways we could serve ISKCON?
Stage left or?
Okay, well, let's look here. I mean, the two ones that seem pretty obvious were to distribute books, because that's such a foundation of why we do what we do, and ISKCON prints those books, and it helps everyone. It helps the person distributing the book, the person receiving the book, and ISKCON as an organization. And then also to serve the temples within ISKCON, especially services that are needed each day, that needed to be filled by a devotee. So to be trained in those services and offering them. And then attending all the programs so that the programs are being honored with our presence. And then on a different note, I was thinking, if we as devotees live by example, then the example that we're leading, especially if it's very by the book, reflects good upon ISKCON, because it shows that through our training in ISKCON, we're well-behaved Vaishnavas that are offering all respects to others. So it's almost like following the instructions of a guru, but by following the instructions of ISKCON, the example that we set can help serve the mission.
I also wrote cooking and spreading prasadam, and training new devotees, and maybe like in a way of giving class to new devotees, spending time with them, things like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Now what about serving the guru? Got some ideas.
I wrote listen to their instruction, serve them prasadam, sincerely ask them what they need, and chant.
Yeah, I put follower vows. Just offering our time and our time to them if we can. Try to facilitate their travel to where we're at so they can spread their wisdom and the teachings from their respected and exalted position.
I would much to say, look different was sharing their message, maybe taking their message and passing it on social media or locally. Right now, sometimes when gurus come to town, maybe we can invite students to open our own home, to give them a place to share their message. So we're doing that right now. Hopefully, make it a place that is welcoming to our devotees.
Oh, nice.
Possibly bring that to the county.
Oh, nice.
We always bring a basket of nuts and berries to us.
Oh.
Make his travels a little easier.
You said nuts and berries?
Try to share one or two of his messages every day. Read it. I try to incorporate that. What I see online, I try to incorporate that little piece practice in my daily life. But I think that was a big part for me to share the message. I just
Nice. Yeah, so to share. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, to share the message. It's very important. Shravanam, Kirtanam, uh, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atman, Avedanam. So there's 9 processes of devotional service, and Shravanam, Kirtanam, so to hear, and then to chant. So we hear from the spiritual master, right? We hear, and then we chant. As they go together, or specifically one after the other, hearing and then chanting. So that's important to do. That, like Jean has just mentioned, that Hare Krishna. Somebody else there? No. So we're on page 46. We're discussing how to serve the mission of ISKCON, how to serve our Guru. So to repeat the message, to hear and then to chant, it's very important. You could say that completes the circle. And there's different ways. As Gene was saying, there's social media. Maybe we have some people following us. Like he says, he shares 2 things every day with those people. Also tries to implement what he hears on a daily basis. Also, like he said, if one has the facility to, if one has a home, or I guess a house, right? With facility, they can invite the spiritual master over and have some programs, have some gatherings with the devotees. That's nice. Srila Prabhupada, he was noted by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his guru. Practically, well, I mean, there's probably many reasons he was noted, but one that really stood out was that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was being asked to initiate Srila Prabhupada. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, yes, I remember him. He hears very nicely. He hears my message very nicely. So yes, I'll initiate him. So to hear, it's so important on a regular basis. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, the Srimad Bhagavatam says, on a regular basis we should hear every day the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam or the Bhagavad Gita, both, as much as possible. And that will keep our spiritual consciousness alive, actually, hearing. That will keep us enlivened. So we could all find different devotees we like to hear, we feel inspired to hear, whether it's Chaitanya Chandra Charan, what is that his name? Chaitanya Chandra Charan Prabhu from Russia, or whether it's this devotee or that devotee, whoever it is, we should just find somebody we're inspired to listen to and we feel enlivened by, and of course who's repeating the message authentically. And just listen, lend our ears. But that's a very important way to serve our spiritual master, to hear and then to repeat. And cooking for him, that's a nice gesture, to cook for the spiritual master. Of course, you got to be careful because you got to make sure it's, according to his liking. Yes, I made a wonderful lunch for my spiritual master. He hates chilies, but I just happened to add a bunch of chilies, out of love for my spiritual master. And, he's like really struggling to, yes, it was so good. And he's like, tears are coming from my, so hot. But we should know what the spiritual master likes. They're persons, they have likes, dislikes. certain prasadam, certain diets for their health. So yeah, we should know. And then yeah, if we have some opportunity to cook, that's nice. Serve, cook. Of course, distributing Prabhupada's books. This is a way we serve our guru, because the guru is repeating Srila Prabhupada's words, which are coming from his books and his lectures, but Prabhupada's books are condensed, instructions, so we could pass those books out to as many people as possible. That's very important. The books are said to be like transcendental bombs, time bombs, in a good sense, not in a bad sense. That a time bomb means you hand the bomb over to someone, and then there's a certain timer on it, right? It's ticking, tick, 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 and eventually it will go off. It doesn't go off immediately. So similarly, someone gets a book, right? We may be in charge of a book rack. We've set up a book rack at a store. We may be going out on the street, passing out books personally, or setting up tables, or giving to our family or friends, or all the above. So when somebody gets a book, it may not immediately change their life. They may not immediately read it. And actually, that particular person who got the book may not read it at all, ever. But it's a time bomb, which means that eventually it's going to reach somebody, and they're going to read it, and it's going to change their life. Just like we have our Vijay Prabhu here, the minister of book distribution throughout ISKCON. He got a Bhagavad Gita from a library, and probably so many people got that same book from the library. I think he checked it out, like from the library, and had to bring it back. So he got that book, and he said he read it in like 7 days, and he just wanted to be Hare Krishna, and he just joined the temple. And from then he's distributed hundreds and thousands. I don't know if he hit 1 million yet, but tons of books. So the books will have their effect. So it's a very important way to serve. And we could serve ISKCON in so many ways, as devotees were saying here too. What does it mean, ISKCON? It's not just like ISKCON is like an entity, in the sense that, like one time some devotee was playing about ISKCON. Oh, ISKCON that, ISKCON this. So many problems with ISKCON. And then one devotee said, oh, well, you got so many problems with ISKCON, why don't you go discuss it with ISKCON? In other words, who's ISKCON? It's not like it's one entity. It's comprised of many entities, many people. So as Demetra was saying, the way we could serve the mission of ISKCON is that the mission of ISKCON is for people to become, for their love for Krishna to reawaken. So to spend time with devotees, to educate, to spend time with, to assist in whatever ways we can. That's important, serving ISKCON. Also, to dedicate oneself to a specific temple is a good way to serve ISKCON, because like one time they asked Sridhar Swami, Prabhupada's disciple, Srila Prabhupada's disciple, because there's many Sridhar Swamis, it's a common name. But our Srila Prabhupada's disciple, Sridhar Swami, they asked him, how do you have a successful temple? And he said, you need 10 years and you need 10 dedicated people. So, in other words, there needs to be somebody, a core group of devotees, the more the better actually, to dedicate themselves to a particular temple. And why is that good? Because if one dedicates oneself to a particular temple, there'll be long-lasting, hopefully, if it's properly, there'll be long-lasting relationships in Krishna consciousness. And there'll be a sense of dedication to a particular temple, which is beneficial for the person and beneficial for the community and temple. It's just like, why is there this whole principle of marriage? It's like, oh, well, like we have 4 people who are married here in this room. Got 3 guys who aren't, but But the people who are married in this room, why is there all this fuss about being married? Why do people make a big deal about marriage? Why can't they just not get married? Just it's girlfriend or boyfriend or this. Well, because if a person's married, they're spending time together and they're able to develop a relationship that is healthy and spiritually uplifting, right? That's the idea. It's spiritually uplifting. It's healthy. There's a sense of dedication to the other, right? So similarly, within the temple, if one's able to dedicate themselves to a particular temple, it's the same principle that you develop a relationship with the temple, but also with the devotees in the community, and there's a sense of commitment, which is important. Like just imagine, okay, let's say you got 20 temples in America, right? And let's say these 20 temples have 20 restaurants attached to the temple, and they also have 20 altars where they have all the deity worship going on, and also the book distribution. There's a lot going on, right? Now, if all of those temples, just imagine if every single one of them had a head cook who was like just dedicated. He was really good, or she was really good, and they're just like super dedicated. And for years, they're just on and on going, working for the restaurant, each restaurant. Or the head pujari, they're just really dedicated, taking care of the deities, for years. And the book distribution, you have some devotees who are like really enthusiastic to distribute books for years. This is how things flourish and expand. Just like Vaisheshika Prabhu, for example, in ISV. Why is ISV, ISKCON Silicon Valley, doing so good? Because he's there. He's inspiring the devotees there. And he's dedicated himself to that yatra, specifically, that temple. And practically, that's how things are going on in ISKCON, although we may not see that, but that's how everything's going on. You have some people who are really kind of buckling down. So, anyways, I don't want to drag on with that. So anyways, yeah, these are different ways we could serve the mission of ISKCON, the Guru. Now, the next one is comment on the importance of a balanced approach to rendering Guru Seva in service to the mission of ISKCON. So what's a balanced approach? Because you have two things. You have serving the Guru, and then you have serving the mission of ISKCON. So how do we have a balanced approach to that? What do you think, Jacob? Uh-huh. You have some idea, Tyler?
I'm questioning fleshing it out with someone else. I have something. I'll be ready in 5 minutes. Or I can throw out the premise I'm sort of working on.
Well, what you're writing, you could just say.
Okay.
You could do both. You could write it while you're writing. You could say it.
Many of the things that we listed above when we were making the two charts, they were very connected. Serving,
Yes.
offering prasadam.
Yeah, practically they're connected.
So then I started thinking a balanced approach is important because these two are very connected. ISKCON strong because we have a line of gurus.
Yes.
And a very bona fide guru to begin ISKCON.
Yes.
And our gurus are all within ISKCON. So I say gurus come from ISKCON, and ISKCON is strong because of guru. So because they are connected, they're deserving of our equal efforts. So I guess this is more of a warning for us not to focus on one over the other.
Yeah.
Because
they're together.
Yeah.
Just like, you don't serve Krishna alone means you don't focus on Krishna alone, the guru.
Yeah, and his devotees.
And the devotees. Yeah. So it's kind of like being able to what am I trying to say? See the bigger picture. Being able to see the bigger picture. It's not just like, it's not just ISKCON and it's not just my guru, it's both. Just like you may have some daughters or some sons, right? It's not like, I just serve one of my daughters. I don't serve the other one. No, you serve both. You have to love both. You have to serve both. So similarly, we serve ISKCON and we serve the guru, which they're together. And yeah, it's a great point Tyler made, is that ISKCON is strong. To the degree it's strong, it's actually based on this idea of having guru nishta, or faith in the guru. Where the faith is lacking in the guru, you could say that particular temple, that particular community is weak. Just like if you look at any strong communities in the world, either historically or at present, a lot of them, they have gurus who are not necessarily everybody's initiative of that particular guru, but like you have Shivaram Swami in Hungary. There's a nice farm going on there and many of his disciples, and it's going well, strong, because he's there and they have faith in him. So we just have to be careful to not cancel one for the other. So, yes.
And I was thinking practically, and you as an example, you're fortunate that your guru's not too far of a drive.
Me as an example, huh? Oh, jeez.
Especially because you just drove with a
nice devotee.
On the
spot, huh?
Well, I don't have a practical example of the other side of the coin, which is your guru's close by.
Yes, he is. He's in Carpinteria.
And you just visited him
3
a
to
few
4
days
hours.
ago.
Yes, I did. I just visited him. That's true.
And so you're fortunate that you live in a temple, a nice temple within ISKCON, and you have your guru right up. So the balance for you can be easier to strike because you have residence in a temple and serving ISKCON each day, and your guru is very close by. Yes. So I was thinking of someone who either doesn't live near a temple or their guru is very far away. They might just naturally favor one or the other.
Yeah.
So to keep in mind that
they don't have to favor one or the other, because also the spiritual master relationship is not. Of course, it's nice to see, and interact, but the most important thing is the instructions, following.
Okay.
Because one could feel very connected and close to the spiritual master. Like probably give the example of mosquito. Say, the mosquito, it's so close to the king, but it's just a nuisance. The mosquito. I mean, practically people don't like mosquitoes. They're always biting people. But so in other words, just to be close to somebody in physical proximity, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily bringing happiness to the person. Just as a mosquito getting close, not bringing happiness. But the real thing is to serve, whether that's in physical proximity or not, just to follow the instructions. Like if the guru says chant Hare Krishna and distribute books, and you're like, well, I don't know. I don't want to chant Hare Krishna. I want to chant Durga or something.
Mm.
And I don't want to distribute books. I want to, I don't know,
Read comic books.
read comic, whatever. Yeah. So we should just follow, and that it brings happiness to the guru.
Okay.
It's actually very simple to please the guru. Actually, it's not that the guru is super difficult to please. It's actually very simple. So, and it's also very simple to serve the mission of ISKCON.
So this question is about making sure our efforts are directed in the right places. Then,
yeah.
Okay, that helped me understand it because I was thinking about where you place your time and associate. Because naturally, we're probably spending more time in temples than we are with the guru.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, then over time, do we just naturally forget about one over the other? But if we're always following our guru's instructions close to the heart, we're doing that every day and taking that very seriously. So we're connected with them there.
Yeah, you should have both.
Okay. Great.
Yes.
Are instructions, are they like long lasting, or they can be added? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, there's instructions, there's personal instructions from the spiritual master. And then there are general instructions from the spiritual master. So the general instructions from the spiritual master, chant Hare Krishna, follow the Four Noble Principles, some of the general instructions. But you may get some specific instructions, like I want you to translate my books into Russian, right? Because you speak Russian, I want you to translate my books into Russian. So you could say, okay, and you do it. You do it. Okay, I did it. So once you completed that, it's completed. Now he may give you some other instructions. Oh, I want you to travel with me through Russia because I don't speak Russian. You do. So then you could translate. Or anyways, there's so many different examples. But it is fortunate if we're able to get some personal or specific instructions from the spiritual master. But whether we get specific or general instructions, we could still become, ultimately, we should just be happy that we have general instructions if that's all we have also. Like Prabhupada's instructions he got from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It's actually quite interesting because his instruction was that you go to the English-speaking world and you spread the message of Lord Chaitanya all over the world. Now, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he didn't give him many details. Like he didn't say, oh, you go to London or you go to New York. Or this is how I want you to spread Krishna consciousness, like this. There are some general instructions Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave to him based on his personal example and also some things, but so many of the details were he actually left to Prabhupada. So similarly with the guru, he may say, spread Krishna consciousness, right? But how you do that and which way you do that, or he may leave that to you. The details, which is nice because you could use your intelligence and try to figure it out, and of course consult with other devotees. Anyways, I don't know if that really. Okay. All right. The next one is list some of the obligations I have in life in addition to obligations to my guru. So, what are some obligations that everybody has here? General obligations. I don't know. I guess because it's not necessarily referring to spiritual obligations. I think it just means like obligations in general, just kind of. Yeah. Of course, it has to fit in the box. The obligations have to fit in the box, so we might be able to go on for a while, but Hare Krishna. Hmm. Hey, Bodhi. Bodhi's a devotee. Nice to see you. Are you here with Bobby? Yeah, Bobby's outside. Oh, cool. Yeah, we have a nice ceremony later. Two of the devotees are getting the orange cloth. Yeah, Glenn and Alex. So, anyways, it's open. His name's Bodhi. You say Bodhi is a devotee. No, I've never heard it. I think he made it up. We need to get Bodhi a devotee. I mean, Bodhi a devotee. We're on page 47. Writing exercise. Well, the next one, if you want to move on to the next one or get close to move on to the next one, is suggest solutions to challenges faced in fulfilling obligations to Guru and others in a balanced manner. Anyways, maybe we should discuss the obligations first. Okay. Yeah, it's a course. Yeah. Okay. I'll go tell Bobby. Okay. So, what are some obligations?
One that immediately came to mind was like to serve my spouse.
All right, that's important.
And then also keep like spirit and body together. So just like
Your health.
diet and exercise.
Yeah, that's true. That's an obligation. Can't get away from it. Would you like to share some of your obligations?
I've been asked by the temple authority to come and take responsibility and to serve in the kitchen.
Oh, nice.
In the temple.
Nice. That's a good obligation. Any others would like to share their obligations?
First obligation I wrote is to serve my wife with everything she requests. Second is to create a comfortable home and to continue to build this business while keeping money coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so there's different obligations. As devotees are mentioned here, there's family obligations, there's obligations of work, right? There's obligations. Surbi's mentioned obligations. She has obligation to help in the kitchen here. So yeah, we all have obligations, health obligations. So then there's this idea of there may be a challenge in trying to fulfill the obligations to the guru. The guru has certain obligations, right? Following certain principles, chanting 16 rounds, repeating his message and so on. So I'm trying to fulfill the obligations of the guru, and also trying to fulfill the obligations of others. It may be challenging. Who could think of a challenge? Like, for example, one's work, it may be very challenging to sometimes the schedule. Like, I knew one devotee, he used to work very hard. He's retired now, but he used to work like, I don't know, I forgot how many hours a day, but he was a salesman, many hours a day. And he said that his work was so exhausting that he'd only be able to sleep so much. Practically what he would do, he would just like be able to eat and sleep a little and work and just chant his rounds, But besides that, he couldn't do anything else practically because he's working so hard. But some people, it's challenging. I mean, he was a very focused and dedicated person, so he was still chanting. I mean, some people, it's like, oh man, it's like I'm working so much, I'm tired. Let me sleep another 2 extra hours, or let me, just kind of like relax. This is like, so that could be a challenge, how to balance one's work with one's chanting, for example. Or even in the family obligations, how to balance one's family obligations. Sometimes the family wants to spend time with you, right? And sometimes they don't want to just chant Hare Krishna. So, for example, like in the case of a man and a woman who have children, I remember hearing that, they both are initiated and they vowed to chant 16 rounds a day. So, but it was difficult because, the children require a lot of attention. You can't just neglect them and so on. So what would they do? So what they do is that at a time, the man, he would take care of the children, and then the wife, she would be chanting Hare Krishna on her beads and chanting her rounds, right? And then the wife, she would take care of the kids, and then the man, he'd go chant. So it's kind of like switching. So in other words, if we rack our brain, if we use our intelligence, or if we somehow or other try to figure it out by consultation with others, how to balance these different obligations, that's what we're being advised to do. Does anybody have any other? Because I kind of like, I kind of gave some idea of the solutions. Is that enough about suggesting solutions to challenges faced in fulfilling obligations, or do we want to try to think more about that? Yeah, you had.
Just one that I saw online. People were talking about clicker, and so like, I mean, at home I do the japa, but at work I just press the button every time I say it internally. It helps.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm also thinking just hearing about advanced devotees' lifestyles and how they serve their guru, like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, for example, he was a house mender and had all these other duties and had to go.
You know how many children he had? I think it was 10. Maybe more. You're thinking 12 or 13. Anyways, I thought it was 10, but something like that. At that point, it's kind of like, what else? Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It could be tough. Yeah, Bhaktivinoda Thakur had 10 children, and he was a magistrate, in the court judge, and he was very busy. He wrote like 100 books, but he was like super just energized and focused, right? Because he was such a pure devotee. So what we can learn from that is that if we're somehow develop the determination and the desire, then we could manage. But without the desire and without the determination, it's kind of it's obligations we can't manage. We fulfill the family obligations, but we fail on the spiritual obligations. Or we fulfill the spiritual obligations and we fail on the family obligations. But we should be able to do both in a Krishna conscious way, which requires determination and desire. So, All right, so we'll read some quotes here. You want to fire away, Tyler? Reading some quotes.
The duty of disciple to carry out order, spread Lord Chaitanya's message all over the world.
Let's skip the Sanskrit or the Bengali.
The devotees of Lord Chaitanya must preach Krishna consciousness in every village and town in the world. That will satisfy the Lord. It is not that one should act whimsically for his own personal satisfaction. This order comes down through the parampar system, and the spiritual master presents these orders to the disciple so that he can spread the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is the duty of every disciple to carry out the order of the bona fide spiritual master and spread Lord Chaitanya's message all over the world.
I'll read the next. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender. So it doesn't mean like one has to be like a fool in the sense that like a mindless, spineless, I think it's the first time I said that, mindless, spineless disciple. But it means that the guru is qualified. He has the adhikar, he has the qualification to help us. And therefore, to surrender such a person, there should be no problem. And also, we could ask questions. It doesn't mean we can't ask questions. The guru is not looking for a bunch of mindless, spineless disciples, but looking just for sincere persons. So surrender doesn't mean to turn off the brain. It just means it actually means to turn on the brain. And one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige, principle of developing humility. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Our movement is that beginning of spiritual life is to surrender. If there's no surrendering, then there is no advance. Sarvadhamam prityaja. This is the beginning. If that thing is lacking, there is no beginning even. What to speak of advancement? This is discussed already. This is the beginning of spiritual life. The word is called disciple. Disciple means who accepts discipline. If there's no discipline, where is disciple? The principle of very rigidly carrying out the order of the spiritual master must be observed. The spiritual master gives different orders to different people. Right, Dimitri? For example, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and Sanatana Goswami to preach. And he ordered Raghunath Das Goswami to strictly follow the rules and regulations of the renounced order. All the 6 Goswamis strictly followed the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the principle for progress in devotional service. After receiving an order from the spiritual master, one must strictly try to execute the order. That is the way of success. Giving up the regulative principles and living according to one's whims is compared to a mad elephant which by force uproots the bhakti lata and breaks it to pieces. So that gentle, tender creeper of devotion, it's giving up the regulative principles like an elephant, destroys that creeper. In this way, the bhakti lata shrivels up. Such an offense is especially created when one disobeys the instructions of the spiritual master. This is called guru avagya. The devotee must therefore be very careful not to commit offenses against the spiritual master by disobeying his instructions or thinking him to be an ordinary man. I'm just putting that in there. As soon as one is deviated from the instructions of the spiritual master, the uprooting of the bhakti lata begins, and gradually all the leaves dry up. After being initiated and receiving the orders of the spiritual master, the disciple should unhesitatingly think about the instructions or orders of the spiritual master and should not allow himself to be disturbed by anything else. This is also the verdict of Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, who's just an absolutely amazing devotee, commentator on so many books, who, while explaining a verse of Bhagavad Gita, Vivasyatmaka Buddhir Ekeha Kurunandana, 241, points out that the order of the spiritual master is the life substance of the disciple. The disciple shouldn't consider whether he is going back home, back to Godhead. His first business should be to execute the order of the spiritual master. Thus, the disciple should always meditate on the order of the spiritual master. And that is perfectional meditation. Not only should he meditate upon that order, but he should find out the means by which he can perfectly worship and execute it. Prabhupada's a perfect example of that. All right, the next one is Guru Vapu and Vani Seva. So this will be on the test, by the way. The test is coming up soon. So written test, short answer test. But one of the things is to memorize different arguments for the Ritvik. What we mentioned in the previous classes, Ritvik is somebody who tries to accept, who's initiated by a priest as a disciple of Prabhupada. In other words, they don't have anything to do with the Diksha Gurus; they're just direct disciples of Prabhupada. So we discussed that in the past, and that's on page, I think in the very beginning, right? I think it's lesson. What is it? Oh yeah, it's on page 16. So those arguments will be, you'll be required to know some of those for that test, page 16. And then also part of the test is some certain terminology, right? Diksha is initiating guru, Shiksha is instructing guru. Also, they should be respected on the same platform. That's also in the test. Whether they should be respected on the same platform or not. But Vapu and Vani, that's also some terms that you'll be required to remember. So Vapu is form. It means the body of the spiritual master. And Vani means instruction. And what's more important? The Vani, the instruction. Because the Vani continues where sometimes the form doesn't. So Vani is more important. We'll discuss now in lesson 10 the Vani and Vapu. So we'll discuss that more now. Okay, so this is lesson 10. Methods of Guru, Vapu, and Vani Seva. Importance of Guru, Vapu, Seva. Behaving appropriately in the presence of the Guru. Inquiring from Guru. Importance of Guru, Vani Seva. So Vapu, physical body, and Vani, instructions. Of course, when it says physical body here, it's understood that the spiritual master actually, by his full engagement in devotional service, his body has become spiritualized. So actually his body's spiritual. The verdict of all revealed scriptures is that by even a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can attain all success. Behaving appropriately in the presence of the Guru. So these are some etiquette tips. You'll be expected to memorize every single one of these and write it out on the test. I'm just joking. But you could try to keep it in mind and think about it. But okay, so these are from the Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is a book by one of our acharyas, Sanatana Goswami. Okay, so it's saying he, so it also means she. They could also do, yeah. He should fall down like an uprooted tree on seeing the spiritual master. So offer obeisances. When Guru approaches, he should face him, and when he leaves, he should follow him. He should not leave the spiritual master's presence without asking permission. We're talking about the principle saying bye, right? He should not utter the spiritual master's name inattentively, but always with respect. So a disciple, they'll refer to the spiritual master, His Holiness Giriraj Swami, for example. It's honorific, right? It's proper. He should not imitate the gait. Gait's referring to walk, right? Imitate the gait, activities, or voice of the spiritual master. So we shouldn't imitate the voice. He should always hold the spiritual master's words in great respect. Though he may be punished by the spiritual master, he should not take it unkindly. He should not bear to hear criticism of the spiritual master, the scriptures, or the Lord, but should leave the place immediately. He should not step on the spiritual master's, this is interesting, the spiritual master's garland, bed, shoes, Asan, sitting place. Shadow. Shouldn't step on the spiritual master's shadow. Or table. He should not spread his legs before the spiritual master, nor should he yawn, laugh, or make disrespectful noises before him. Can't be yawning during class, like the guru's giving the class. No. Oh. He should not sit on the asan, seat, or bed before the spiritual master. He should not worship others in preference to the spiritual master. He should not give diksha, initiation, scriptural explanations, or show superiority in front of the guru. He should not give orders to the spiritual master, but always obey him. He should treat the spiritual master with similar respect. He should treat the wife, son, and relatives of the spiritual master as the spiritual master. But he should not clean the body of the son, take his remnants, or wash his feet. So all of this is quite, this is very respectful. Which, it's important to be respectful to the spiritual master. Of course, if the spiritual master, he's like, he tells some joke or something, right? Or he's maybe joking with you. The spiritual master could also joke with you if he wants. So he jokes with you, for example, and you just kind of like, you don't laugh. And you're like, hey, well, so, you're thinking, in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, it says we shouldn't laugh, He's in class, all the disciples are, he's saying something funny. He also has a sense of humor, the spiritual master, so says something funny, and they're just kind of, like I was in a class one time in Mayapur, and there was a sannyasi, he was giving a class, and he said something kind of funny, or he thought to be funny or whatever, but he said something, and the whole audience was silent. What he's trying to, the whole audience, it was a big audience too, it was like 500 devotees, and everybody was silent. And he said, hey, you guys can laugh if you want, it's kind of, and it's funny, because right after that, everybody started laughing. So, these are guidelines, and of course, the principle is to try to reciprocate with the spiritual master in a respectful way. And, Hare Krishna. Okay. Does anybody have any comments or questions about any of this? He has about 800. I mean, they should follow him. They should follow him, where he goes if they can, here and there. But specifically, it's referring to while you're in the presence of the spiritual master. If you were to, asking for permission means like, I'm thinking of it in the sense of like, you're with your spiritual master, and then you're like, well, I'm getting kind of tired. I'm going to take off. It's like, in some ways, I understand the tendency and the inclination to do that. But with the spiritual master, and we do that with friends, or maybe my grandfather, when he was at parties, there'd be like a big party, a bunch of people, and then he'd just disappear, and he would go home. And then everybody would ask him, hey, Glenn, we're all hanging out, we're having a good time, and all of a sudden we look and we say, hey, where's Glenn? And we just took off. And he does it all the time. He just takes off. He doesn't say bye to anybody. And then he said, yeah, well, if I was to say bye to everybody, it's going to take another hour. So I just, I leave. Anyways, I usually say bye to people, but sometimes I followed my grandfather, not say bye, but with the spiritual master, it's good. Say, okay, very nice to see you, Guru Maharaj, and now I'm, I have some other obligations, or I'm going to leave now, so please, nice to see you. Offer obeisances, and you say goodbye. Kind of. Yeah. Okay. So these are some more quotes here. The words Guru Shushaya mean that one should personally serve the spiritual master by giving him bodily comforts, helping him in bathing, dressing, sleeping, eating, and so on. This is called Guru Shushanam. A disciple should serve the Guru as a menial servant, and whatever he has in his possession should be dedicated to the Guru. An acharya, or great personality of the Vaishnava school, is very strict in his principles, but although he is as hard as a thunderbolt, sometimes he is as soft as a rose. Thus actually he is independent. Means a guru could correct and be hard like the thunderbolt in correction, but also soft like a rose. To the spiritual master's children, wife, and relatives, the disciple should offer the same kind of treatment he offers to the spiritual master himself. And relatives. Interesting. If someone considers the Supreme Personality Krishna or Ramchandra to be an ordinary human being, this does not mean that the Lord becomes an ordinary human being. Similarly, if the family members of the spiritual master, who is the bona fide representative of the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, consider the spiritual master an ordinary human being, this does not mean that he becomes an ordinary human being. Like the spiritual masters, they may have sisters or brothers, and it's just my brother. Okay, he's a big guru in ISKCON, but what does that mean to them? Doesn't mean anything. But that doesn't mean they're ordinary just because the family thinks they are. The spiritual master is as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore one who is very serious about spiritual advancement must regard the spiritual master in this way. Even a slight deviation from this understanding can create disaster in the disciples' Vedic studies and austerities. Sri Advaita Prabhu and Ishvara Puri, Lord Chaitanya's guru, Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master, were both disciples of Madhavendra Puri, who was also the spiritual master of Nityananda Prabhu. Thus, Advaita Prabhu, as Lord Chaitanya's spiritual uncle, was always to be respected because one should respect one's spiritual master's godbrothers as one respects one's spiritual master. So you have, for example, Vaisheshika Prabhu may be your guru, right? But then he has his godbrother, His Holiness Radhanath Swami, or his godbrother Trivida Prabhu, or someone, right? So he's saying we should respect them on the equal platform. My dear Sanatan, although you are the deliverer of the entire universe, and although even the demigods in great sense are purified by touching you, it is the characteristic of a devotee to observe and protect the Vaishnava etiquette. Maintenance of the Vaishnava etiquette is the ornament of a devotee. If one transgresses the law of etiquette, people make fun of him, and thus he is vanquished in this world and the next. By observing the etiquette, you have satisfied my mind. That's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaking. Those who listen to the Bhagavatam may put questions to the speaker in order to elicit the clear meaning, but this should not be done in a challenging spirit. One must submit questions with a great regard for the speaker and the subject matter. This is also the way recommended in Bhagavad Gita. One must learn the transcendental subject by submissive oral reception from the right sources. Therefore, these sages address the speaker Sutta Goswami with great respect. All right, this is a good chance. Can you pass me those books, Tyler? So these books here are one book out of a collection of books. So the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada's great work he would work on daily, every morning, practically nighttime. And he made it to the 10th canto, and then the disciples finished 11th and 12th. But all devotees should have the full set of Srimad Bhagavatam in their homes. Whether a person's getting close to initiation or however close they are to initiation, they should have the full set of Srimad Bhagavatam in their home. Because Prabhupada said he wanted every gentleman and lady, and he was just referring to people of the world, what to speak of somebody who's practicing Krishna consciousness, to have the Bhagavatam in their home. And this book is studied, as all of you know, every day in the International Society of Krishna Consciousness every morning. So if you don't have it, maybe some of you will listen later, or maybe some of you here, it's good to get it. It's $225 for the full set. There's also the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is also one of Prabhupada's works. He finished the whole thing. The biography of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so many great purports, and beautiful book of 9 volumes. So all devotees should have this in their homes too, which is $125. And if you have to, yeah. Anyways, it's good to get it. And we have them here, by the way. We have many sets of Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, the version? Small? No. We have, it's a little kind of, but it's still Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay. One must be jigyasu, very much inquisitive to learn from the spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master. The inquiries one makes should strictly pertain to transcendental science. The word uttamam refers to that which is above material knowledge. Tama means the darkness of this material world, and ut means transcendental. Generally, people are very interested in inquiring about mundane subject matters, but when one has lost such interest and is simply interested in transcendental subjects, he is quite fit for being initiated. So we shouldn't go to the guru with mundane things, but spiritual. All right, although according to material vision, this is in importance of the Guru Vani, serving the instructions. Although according to material vision, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, passed away from this material world on the last day of December 1936, I still consider His Divine Grace to be always present with me by His Vani, His words. There are 2 ways of association, by Vani, and by Vapu. Vani means words, and Vapu means physical presence. It's on your test, how to remember. Physical presence is sometimes appreciable and sometimes not, but Vani continues to exist eternally. Therefore, we must take advantage of the Vani, not the physical presence. The Bhagavad Gita, for example, is the Vani, instructions of Lord Krishna. Although Lord Krishna was personally present 5,000 years ago and is no longer physically present from the materialistic point of view, the Bhagavad Gita continues. To carry out the teachings of the Guru is more important than to worship the form, but none of them should be neglected. Form is called Vapu and teachings is called Vani. Both should be worshipped. Vani is more important than Vapu. What is it? Vani is more important than Vapu, right? So far personal association with the Guru is concerned, I was only with my Guru Maharaj 4 or 5 times. Wow, that's not very much. Sometimes devotees, now they see their Guru 4 or 5 times in a year. Prabhupada saw him 4 or 5 times in a span of 12 years or something. But I have never left his association, not even for a moment. Because I am following his instructions, I have never felt any separation. There are some of my godbrothers here in India who had constant personal association with Guru Maharaj, but who are neglecting his orders. This is just like the bug who is sitting on the lap of the king. He may be very puffed up by his position, but all he can succeed in doing is biting the king. Personal association is not so important as association through service. So far I am concerned, I do not factually feel any separation from my spiritual master because I am trying to serve him according to his desire. That should be the motto. If you kindly try to fulfill my mission for which you have been sent there, that will be our constant association. Please be happy in separation. I am separated from my Guru Maharaj since 1936. So Prabhupada was saying this in 68, quite some years later. But I am always with him so long I work according to his direction. So we should all work together for satisfying Lord Krishna, and in that way the feelings of separation will transform into transcendental bliss. So Vani is more important than Vapu, and we should be very still serve the spiritual master in physical proximity if we can, and inquire very humbly and try to keep these different points of etiquette in mind. Underlying thing is to be respectful. So, all right, here is a one that we hope no one has to deal with. Lesson 11, and that is Guru Tyaga, rejection of the spiritual master. So, why would you ever want to reject your guru? So, this will discuss why one would do that. Principles of Guru Tyaga, procedures of lodging, concerns regarding Guru, reinitiation, continuing to practice devotional service in ISKCON. Okay. A teacher who engages in an abominable action is fit to be abandoned. According to scriptural codes, a teacher who engages in abominable action and has lost his sense of discrimination is fit to be abandoned. The spiritual master is liable to be rejected if he proves himself unworthy. According to revealed scriptures, a teacher or spiritual master is liable to be rejected if he proves himself unworthy of the position of a guru or spiritual master. So, all right, we'll just read it some more. If the guru becomes attached to sense gratification, loses his sense of duty, and follows a degraded path, a path other than devotional service to the Lord, you should be rejected. Even though somebody by mistake has gone to a rascal, the book is there. As soon as you find out, here is a rascal who doesn't know anything about Lord Krishna, and I have to come to him, reject him. That is stated in Shastra. Guru apyavitliptasya karya karyam aganataha pratyago vidiyate. Even by mistake, you have come to a rascal who doesn't know how to become guru. You can reject him. Why should you stick to him? Reject him. So unfortunately, a person may rise to the platform of devotional service and become quite advanced, actually. But due to the strong pullings of this material world, again, fall from grace into the path of degradation again. And historically, we've seen that in ISKCON and also within practically all spiritual movements. Now, of course, some people are just cheaters to begin with. And I'm not referring to these devotees who fall from grace as cheaters, but you could say in a separate category, there are people who are just cheaters all out and out, which means somehow or other they try to cheat the system and rise to the platform of guru for God knows why, or what reasons. And then it comes out that they're not guru, right? But there's many devotees who are actually sincere, actually qualified, but just due to this reason or that reason, they fall. And someone will say, well, how is that possible? How can somebody who's so advanced fall? I thought they're not supposed to fall. Well, there's an example given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna himself. And he had a devotee with him traveling throughout South India. And this devotee became attracted to this group of gypsies. And in other words, he fell into illusion completely, although he was in the company of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So similarly, it's not so easy to get out of illusion, and sometimes even a guru may fall back into it in a bad way. So therefore, what it's saying here is that if the guru proves to not be able to keep to the standard, then there's grounds for rejecting. And of course, we hope that nobody has to deal with that, because it's very difficult and not pleasant, right? So, but there are grounds of rejection. Now, the writing exercise here is, how does ISKCON protect how does ISKCON protect disciples? So we need an editor here. How does ISKCON protect disciples in the case of a guru who proves himself unworthy of the position? Write your comments below. So based on what you understand about ISKCON and Krishna consciousness, you could say, how can ISKCON help a particular disciple whose guru has fallen? What do you like to say?
Just that you're allowed to reject, if the grounds for that is present and you wish to reinitiate something else.
Yeah. So ISKCON, quoting scripture and so on, allows for a disciple to reject the guru. That's a way in which ISKCON helps, because it's not helpful if ISKCON would say, well, even if the guru is inauthentic, you should still stay with him and help, and says you could reject him, and also says you could get reinitiated. And just because one person has failed in the system, of being a guru or so on, or the principle of guruhood, that doesn't mean that the system itself is faulty. It just means somebody wasn't able to follow. So, like I know a devotee who got reinitiated 3 times. They got initiated 3 times from 3 different gurus. First 2 gurus, he got initiated by one of them, and then he left. He fell away, one guru, and then he got initiated by another one, and then he left. And he got initiated lastly by Radhanath Swami. So, I met one guru. One devotee was like, I don't know, it was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times that he had to reject his guru. 3 or 4. It's kind of a lot. So, in recent times, it hasn't been a phenomenon in ISKCON. Just speaking frankly, in recent times, it hasn't been an issue so much. There has been some cases within the last 10 years or so, but not a lot. But within the 80s and so on, there's a lot of cases. Devotees had to deal with that. So, but I think everybody here will be okay. So, okay. All right, so we'll just read a little bit more about this, and then we'll ask if there's any questions or comments that come up. A disciple may express concerns in relation to the guru in consultation with temple and GBC authorities. So our GBC is Bajranarayan Swami. He's the whole West Coast. Shiksha gurus, ISKCON Resolve. It's a place. It's a branch of ISKCON or committee in ISKCON that helps resolve certain things. Therefore, the name ISKCON Resolve. If you give the company of spiritual master, that is not good for you. But when one leaves a spiritual master, the spiritual master, there may be some reason. That reason is also given in the Shastra. If the spiritual master does not know what is actually to be done, what is actually not to be done, and he acts against the rules and regulations of the scripture, then such a spiritual master may be given up. But so long you do not find the spiritual masters doing against the principles of scripture or guru, then if you give up the company of spiritual master, that is not good for you. That is your downfall. So we shouldn't say, oh, well, I have grounds to reject my spiritual master, but there should be real grounds. If there's not real grounds, then that's our downfall, actually. One day, Srila Gadadhar Pandit revealed to the Lord his reason for wanting reinitiation. He said, I have revealed my Ishta mantra, the mantra of one's worshipful deity that I received from my guru, to an undeserving person. And since then my mind is disturbed. My Lord, you kindly reinitiate me with the same Ishta mantra, then my mind will become jubilant again. The Lord replied, be very careful that you do not commit any offenses to your guru, the one who instructed you on the Ishta mantra. As long as your mantra guru is present, you cannot go elsewhere or even come to me. This would jeopardize the spiritual life of both you and me. So in other words, can't reject the guru on false premises. One pollutes his own intelligence and exhibits severe weakness of character when he rejects his own spiritual master. Indeed, such a person has already rejected the Supreme Lord. Hadi. All right, does anybody have any questions about principles of Guru Tyaga or anything we just read? Yes. Yeah. He's situated in the determination. Yeah.
So even if spiritual master falls down, he can stay the same.
Yes.
If he's determined still in this.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, there's some scripture also saying that if your guru falls down, you should actually try to help him come back to the path. And then after prolonged trying to help him come back to the path, if he's just not being reinstated as a guru, then you don't have to accept him as a guru anymore. But in other words, it shouldn't be so quick to reject. But also, yeah, it shouldn't. I mean, we should see him as saintly, even if they've fallen. They're considered saintly still, if they're situated in their determination. Now, of course, that can't be taken out of context, right? In other words, the sicknesses of the mind, the abusive behavior, and so on. Can't say, oh well, hey, I'm saintly. I'm just I'm having a hard time here. Forgive me. It means sometimes people just they become twisted, and they still may be considered a devotee, but such shlokas, they'd be very careful to use such shlokas to defend themselves or defend others. Sometimes they just, like devotees sometimes become demons, that's what I'm saying. Just like in the case of in the Krishna book. In the Krishna book, there's this demon. It means demon asura against Krishna, against God, named not Dravida, but Dvavida. Dvavida. So you got Dravida or Dravida, and you got Dvavida. There's a slight difference there. It's Dra and then Dvi. Dravida. Anyways, he was a monkey actually, and he was harassing Balaram and Balaram's friends, gopis. And they had a big fight, Balaram and this demon. But this demon was actually a great devotee in Ramchandra's times. But due to bad association, he actually became a demon. So, but it is true that sometimes a saintly person just has difficulties, and therefore there's falling from grace. But the spiritual master, it's a special position in the sense that devotees are accepting the guru as as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they have to be they have to be behaving themselves, to say the least. They have to be on a very high level, which they don't fall, practically speaking. Therefore, it's difficult to find somebody to take the position of guru, Diksha guru, and Shiksha guru. It's kind of, but they are out there. Anyways, yeah. Thank you for the comment. you have anything else in relation to that? Okay. Page 51. Okay.
Disciple should serve the spiritual master as a menial servant, and whatever he has in his possession should be dedicated to the spiritual master.
Yes.
So how practical is that? All the possessions by the disciples are dedicated to the spiritual master. We have savings, we have things like car.
Yeah. It should be dedicated to the spiritual master means we should see it, we should use it in the service of the spiritual master, whatever we have, our house, our car, this and that. We use it in the service of the spiritual master. It doesn't mean we give it completely, or else the guru would have a lot of cars, right? And then people would criticize him on the internet. Look at that guru, he's got 50 cars. Actually, he's got 800 cars because he's got 800 disciples. Got 800 BMWs. What's up with this guru? So it doesn't mean to give it completely. Although there was a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he would work and he'd give his whole check to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Everything. Huh? Taxi driver? No. He'd give everything to him. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and he had a wife and children too. He'd give everything to Bhaktisiddhanta. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur knew this, that he had a wife and children, so he would actually give it back to his wife, and children, some of it, But it means we should just use whatever we have. And we should give also to the spiritual master. Of course, we should give him what he wants, so. But, yeah. Okay. So this, what is it? Now let's see here. Reinitiation. A devotee who, considering GBC guidelines on the subject of rejecting a guru, consulting with senior ISKCON devotees, has decided to reject his non-bona fide guru, may seek initiation from an approved ISKCON guru. Normal procedures as applicable in the case of first and second initiations as described elsewhere in ISKCON law should be followed. List ways a disciple can continue to be connected to Srila Prabhupada, the Guru Parampara, disciplic succession, and ISKCON. In the case of Guru Tyaga, rejection of the spiritual master, before being reinitiated. So what are some ways? Okay, somebody's guru has fallen. What are some ways they could feel connected to Prabhupada and ISKCON despite them undergoing that problem, that difficulty, and not having a guru? What are some ways they could feel connected before they get reinitiated? Which I guess it seems what they're saying is they're implying that reinitiation is, which is yes. Okay, we got maintaining vows associated with devotees. Yeah. Anyone like to share some other ones?
Reading the books, the same thing.
Of course, it's kind of awkward to talk about this. Because we're talking about the guru and then you're talking about rejecting the guru, but it seems that they wanted to add this to the course just in case. It's kind of like when flying. every time you get on a flight, like every time without fail, I think it's probably illegal not to say it, but every time without fail, they say, if, in the case of the plane going down, and, they have to say it, then you do this, right? You get before you put the, what do they call it? Breathing mask, oxygen mask. Before you put the oxygen mask on others, like your children, put it on yourself first, right? You help yourself, and you can help others. But there's a whole protocol what to do. Okay, there's life. There's boat, flotation device, rafts. This is, here are the exits, right? So it's understood that when flying, usually it doesn't happen, right? Or else there'd probably be a lot less people flying. And we're hoping it doesn't happen, right? But just in case, the knowledge is there. So similarly, in the case of rejection of a guru, it's like that. Shouldn't happen, right? But it's the knowledge is there, or the idea behind it's there. So seeking counseling, yes, that's good. Yeah. 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 Counseling, going to devotees. So, yeah. Main thing is not to give up Krishna consciousness, but to take shelter of the practices and principles of Krishna consciousness to maintain one's spiritual sanity at the difficult time. And then, upon gaining faith in another Vaishnava, take reinitiation. So, but yeah, I don't think anybody here will have to deal with that. So this is the last quote. Please always try to remember me by my teachings, and we shall always be together. Just like I have written in the first publications of Srimad Bhagavatam. The spiritual master lives forever by his divine instruction, and the disciple lives with him. Because I have always served my Guru Maharaj and followed his teachings, I am now even never separated from him. So, all right. So next is 12, presenting one's Guru. Okay, presenting Srila Prabhupada, presenting current ISKCON Gurus. List in the box below some benefits of publicly promoting Srila Prabhupada as the founder Acharya, preeminent Shiksha Guru at ISKCON for our present and future. So what are some benefits of publicly promoting Prabhupada through this way or that way, so many different ways, as the main founder Acharya, or the only founder Acharya and Shiksha Guru? So what are some benefits? Like to say, Gene?
Keeps his legacy alive, honors those before him. They also help other people who may not be aware, help them, inspire them.
Yeah, nice, good. Yeah. It's good. Yeah, so publicly promoting Prabhupada helps keep his legacy alive. Who is he? What he stood for? Just like we gave the example of Mahatma Gandhi some time ago, how he had certain ideas, and after he left, he passed away, all of his followers changed everything practically. He wanted, right? Was it not agricultural? Agrarian society, based society, but they all wanted to industrialize everything. So in other words, they changed everything. So if we keep Prabhupada, we publicly promote him as the founder Acharya and the Shiksha Guru, then people say, oh, well, he's the guru, he's the main guru. And what does he stand for? Well, this is what he stands for, so many different things. And this is what we stand for, and this is who we follow. So in other words, the idea of confusion reduces. People becoming confused. Oh, well, I think this, and I think that. And, well, this book says that, and that book says this. Okay, well, what does Srila Prabhupada say about the subject? And he's the main guru, Shiksha Guru, so then we have the right idea. And yeah, it will benefit people in terms of inspiring them. And of course, us meditating on Prabhupada helps reinforce our commitment to him and ISKCON. And yeah, honors the disciplic succession, because Prabhupada's representing the whole disciplic succession. It's not just like Prabhupada, it's like a whole disciplic succession, his guru and guru and guru.
I had this really interesting interaction with this uncle that I invited yesterday, or the day before yesterday. We just finished puja for the room. And this uncle came up to me, he was about maybe 60s or 70s years old. And he says, Prabhu, come here. I said, yes. What can I do for you? He says, take my picture. I said, okay. And I said, who do you want to take a picture with, uncle? He said, just you? He said, no, everybody here. I said, okay. And I said, bring them all over. So I started bringing all these guys. You know, usually at a wedding, I'll get one guy asked, and it'll wind up being 20, 30 people. And he said, do you know who this man is here? And I said, he's my friend. You know, and I was just teasing him. He said, he's a descendant of Gandhi. And I said, oh, our Lord, that's really great. What did you just say? And I told him, you know, about ISKCON. This is like, well, all these gentlemen are just kind of meeting from the picture. And I mentioned, oh, he said, who is that? And I kind of told him a little bit and texted him to his phone. He said, I will follow and read this book.
Oh, nice.
And I said, well, that's great. Now it's going to be a miracle photo. You know, we took a photo of everybody.
Nice.
And I made all of those guys, and I said, okay, everybody, get our ball. And they were like, and they were like loud. Just louder. And we were like disrupted. We were in this room, like in this hotel.
Nice.
And it was amazing.
Yeah, it was great.
Just like, after that, the whole room broke down. And the whole room was like, you know, because I had to walk to the meeting, I was forced. But I just seeing that much.
Yeah.
You know, having that experience was really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
But he had his phone press. And then after maybe a half hour later, here it kicked
$20?
He said, $20 to buy yourself
Buy yourself a book. Wait,
It was a fun experience, and I just when this came across, it was just
yeah,
you just never know.
yeah, yeah. It's fun to be able to connect people with Srila Prabhupada and be able to talk about him and have that basis,
Yeah, it's just kind of sparked a little interest.
Yeah. The next one is list in the box below some inappropriate ways of presenting present gurus. So what are some inappropriate ways you could think of? Presenting ISKCON present gurus.
As being more important.
Yeah, that's a way, yeah. Inappropriate. So what are some inappropriate ways?
Imposing the own guru's instructions and maybe holding that intention of initiation.
You think you could explain that some more?
Imposing our guru's instructions through media,
Mm.
promoting through classes,
Mm-hmm. I see. Yeah, so like promoting our guru through media and classes and so on. You could say maybe expanding on that a little bit, kind of saying, "Oh well, my guru is so great," and always talking about your guru, which is normal and natural, but it could be done in a weird way in the sense that yes, everybody should take initiation for my guru, because everybody else is gurus, not qualified. Means that it's done in a proud way that, oh, my guru is so great and everybody else's guru is not so great. So kind of that's inappropriate, yeah. But to humbly speak about one's guru, you could do that, but not my guru is great and all the other gurus are like chopped cabbage. In essence, that's what's being emphasized here, and this is that we shouldn't overemphasize our guru in a proud, kind of arrogant way, in a way that eclipses Prabhupada also. Well, what about some possible consequences for ISKCON of inappropriately presenting ISKCON gurus? What about that? Want to write something? You could write something about that. Now let's say that we get on this train that everybody will inappropriately present their guru in different ways. What will happen to ISKCON? What are some consequences for ISKCON if of inappropriately presented ISKCON gurus? Yes. Okay, while you're doing that, I'll be right back. Oh, the light's not on back there. Do you think you could turn the light on back there? Yeah, it's kind of dark. I was wondering why something seemed strange. It's much better. Sorry about that. So the factions will develop, and what else? What are some presenting guru inappropriate, what will happen? Factions means there'll be different gurus, different groups. Offenses, overt conversations, division. In some religion, it's a problem with religions actually. They believe the same stuff largely. Of course, a lot of these factions are developed on thinking, having different conceptions of the particular religion. But that can definitely happen. Oh, my guru's better, so I'm in this group, you're in that group, and from that, actually, probably there'll be development of different ideas, possibly philosophically, whatever that may consist of. How far it would go, I don't know. People say, "Oh, well, no need to worship a deity, right? We just worship a picture of Krishna. But deities, we don't need to do. We don't need to worship. We should just preach." The deity worship means the preaching will go down because you have to have so many pujaris who will be there taking care of the deities, and then the preaching will go down. So let's just no more deities, just pictures. And anybody who has deities means they're not really following Prabhupada, because Prabhupada said to preach. Who knows? All different type of things develop. Now, of course, that idea is not right, but we do both: take care of the deities and preach. But yeah, the main thing is that this kind of division, us and them type of mood develops. Vaishnava Aparad. Vaishnava means devotee. Aparad. Aparadha. Radha, that's referring, Apa means to be without, and Radha means Radharani. So without Radharani's mercy. But aparad means an offense. To speak illy of a devotee, to offend a devotee in different ways. It's Vaishnava Aparad. Yeah, and that's what develops from this type of thing. So the next one is, yes. Yeah, the word is Aparad. Aparad. You're welcome. So, in essence, this next one, you could read it on your free time if you, yeah. But in essence, Srila Prabhupada, he wanted his full name to be written, all his books, his temples, because he's the founder of Charya, and that should be in people's mind for the ongoing progression or expansion of Krishna consciousness, ISKCON. So the plaques, the books, and then it starts getting into, okay, gurus, we have guru t-shirts, posters, bead bag, buttons, It's saying that, okay, in private you have your pictures of your guru and different things like that, but it's saying to not get into the kind of like this division mood, not to get too enthusiastic about publicly displaying your guru on t-shirts and all these different things. With the idea of kind of eclipsing other gurus, you kind of have this guru competition between disciples, eclipsing of Prabhupada. And to have Prabhupada's picture on, says websites. Of course, when Prabhupada was around, websites right there, but as keeping Prabhupada in the forefront. So, yeah, those are some. Now, lesson 13 is relationships within ISKCON. So, discrimination on basis of guru, developing cooperative relationships. Discrimination on the basis of guru. Discrimination, the perceiving, noting, or making a distinction or difference between things. Right? There's a difference between things. Hey, we're perceiving it. We're perceiving there's a difference, right? We're noting it. We're writing it down in our notebooks. There's a difference. Or making a distinction or difference between things. Discrimination is the prejudicial treatment of an individual based solely on their membership in a certain group or category. It involves excluding or restricting members of one group from opportunities that are available to other groups. If I had the joke, I would tell you, but I don't have it memorized. It won't be funny if I don't tell the whole thing, so I'm not going to try, but maybe I'll tell you sometime. But there's these two men. One of them's about to jump off a bridge, and the other one comes up to him and he says, hey, you got a lot to live for. Why are you jumping? And you believe in God, right? I said, yeah, I believe in God. And he said, oh, are you a Christian? And he says, yeah. And then he goes on this whole line of, are you like very specific, like Christian, with like a bunch of titles before it? Because there's different types of believers in Christ. And, there's this, and there's like a whole big description of it, right? So then the guy kept on saying, yeah, oh, good, we're brothers, we're great. And he goes through this whole line, and then eventually he says, are you a Christian? And the guy says, well, no, I'm Western, whatever, Orthodox. I'm Western. And the guy says, all right, man, we'll just jump off the bridge. What did he call him? Not heathen. What's that word? Not pagan. Yeah, heretic. You heretic, just jump. we were agreeing up to a certain point, but now we disagree. Just jump, man. Anyways, but so this kind of like seeing too much the distinction of people, of religions, of things, especially within Vaishnava circles, it's poisonous in the sense that we're all devotees, right? You shouldn't say, oh, my guru, your guru, and we're all a family. And a healthy family will see that, okay, we're all a family. It's not that, oh, well, hey, there's a distinction here, and I'm actually better than you, and then the other guy's thinking, well, I'm actually better than you, and all this kind of weirdness. So that happens sometimes on the basis of guru, unfortunately. Describe a time when, in ISKCON, you experienced inappropriate discrimination on the basis of your Diksha or Shiksha gurus. Now, I don't think anybody here in this room has experienced that. Maybe I'm wrong, but has anybody here ever experienced inappropriate discrimination on the basis of your Diksha or Shiksha guru? Maybe you have. I don't know. Have you? No, not personally. But I know sometimes in the world, in India, I think possibly devotees experience this, because sometimes it's nothing. I don't have anything against India, but just speaking from my knowing of what goes on in India, sometimes where any place where there's a large expansion of something, that means a lot of people are taking to it. So it could have been America, but it just happens that India is like number one in the world right now for expansion in Krishna consciousness. It means the number of temples being built, ISKCON temples, and number of devotees being initiated. Russia's number 2. So whenever there's an expansion like that, there's bound to be some confusion in the members, unfortunately, and some kind of development of misconceptions. So the misconception is like what we've been discussing, is that in comparison to America to India, India has a great quality. Means the members, the people of India largely have a great quality, and that is that they're able to, of course, I don't want to make a too overgeneralization, sweeping statement, but in general, the inclination that I've seen within the minds of those in India is that they have a strong inclination to accept the guru. It's a very serious principle, and to really have a lot of faith. And that could go bad, that could go good, in the sense that it goes bad in the sense in the realm of fanaticism. My guru is so great, and your guru is not great. That's why it could turn out to be bad, or bad in the sense that they put their faith in wrong gurus, means inauthentic gurus, cheaters. That's also bad. But in the realm of ISKCON, because we're keeping it in ISKCON circle here, is that they will have a lot of faith in their guru, but yes, sometimes other gurus, there may be kind of like this clique, kind of developing like a group mentality. Well, they probably did, and this came up, and maybe they feel uncomfortable discussing it. It's like, hey, this kind of sounds like what I'm doing. But in many ways, I appreciate the principle behind it, but the application and how they're viewing it, I don't. But the principle, it's actually quite nice. Like you go to a temple, and of course, in all the ISKCON laws, they say, don't have a picture of a Diksha Guru on the altar. Prabhupada's pictures are, if you look, my guru's picture's not on that altar, or anybody else's guru's picture. It's just Prabhupada, and not just Prabhupada, but it's Prabhupada and the Charyas, right? Because that's a law in ISKCON. Just don't have the pictures up there. Of course, you'd have to have quite a few pictures up there because we have quite a few gurus here, like disciples. But when I was in India, there was one temple in Calcutta I went to, and largely a lot of them were disciples of Jayapataka Swami. And they had a picture of him on the altar, like situated there, like it wasn't moving. And I appreciated it in the sense that I felt it was nice. They had so much faith in their spiritual master. And yes, he's coming after Prabhupada, and he's our acharya, he's our guru, and this is nice. As long as it doesn't go into the realm of fanaticism in which you think all other gurus are not important. So when it's saying here, describe a time in ISKCON where you experience inappropriate discrimination on the basis of your Diksha or Shiksha Guru, which means it does happen. Oh, you're a disciple of Bhakti Vikas Swami, for example. Don't mean to use names, but well, we don't really we're kind of so-and-so disciples around here, and we don't really agree with your guru, and kind of get lost, go to another group. Instead of saying, oh, you're a disciple of Bhakti, oh, great, our spiritual masters are God brothers, let's serve together, let's continue. We may have some disagreements, but let's, soar through. So, anyway, that's a little bit about that. Also kind of awkward. List some of the possible long-term consequences for ISKCON arising from inappropriate favoritism or bias on the basis of guru. So what are some long-term consequences if in ISKCON they allow this type of behavior to exist? Discrimination, favoritism on the basis of having a particular guru. Yeah, factions are formed.
Loss of respect from the people on the outside.
Yeah, that's a very important one. Loss of respect from people on the outside. They look in the ISKCON members and they just see a bunch of people, having 10 different divisions in ISKCON. We got a Krishna Das Swami group. We got a Bhakti Sarup Swami group. We got a Dimitri Prabhu group. He's become a big guru. Anyways, we got all these different groups. And then people start looking in, hey, are you guys like together, or like, what's going on? It seems like a lot of fighting. Fighting develops, age of quarrel. So Prabhupada said that the movement ISKCON cannot be destroyed from external attack, but it can be destroyed from the internally. It could rot from the inside. So the long-term consequences are that will happen, like you mentioned. Lose respect from the outside world, which I'm not sure how much we got.
That's not what it was like. It was more like
which is important.
Devotees come in.
Yeah.
They get confused.
Yeah, that's true. Newer devotees, yeah. Yeah, or could just stop. That's actually what happened with the Gaudiya Math. You had Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada's guru, and he had this awesome movement going on. I don't mean awesome as like, the Southern California way. Awesome, dude. It was like, in the real sense of the term, just awesome. Inspiring. It's a huge movement. 64 temples. They had so many brahmacharis, student monks. They had so many sannyasis, powerful sannyasis, traveling all over India, making a really big stir all over India. Bhaktisiddhanta himself, Saraswati Thakur, traveling all over India. It was like a really powerful movement. And then, due to factions developing after Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur left, there was two personalities. A lot of the devotees were saying he should be the Acharya, he should be the next guru, and the others were saying, no, he should be the Acharya. And these factions developed. They're fighting over property, position, money, so on, for years. And the preaching stopped largely. And when Prabhupada came to America, he tried to get his godbrothers, preach with me, come to America. Let's start this. We'll name it Gaudiya Math, But they didn't want to for so many reasons. And then Prabhupada started ISKCON. That's when he started ISKCON. But practically it all dissolved after Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Of course, there were some temples, there were some gurus and sannyasis, and who am I in relation to them? But just historically speaking, there was issues. So that could happen within ISKCON. So therefore, we try to keep everybody on the, ourselves and everybody on the right path of seeing, we're all family. We have to develop all this my guru, your guru type of distinctions. All right, so on a positive note, describe your vision of what ISKCON would be like if devotees maintain positive and cooperative relationships between all ISKCON gurus and disciples. So how would it be like?
I see like everybody supporting each other's preaching missions, even though they vary in different kinds. I just read about different concepts and different methods of preaching. Anyway, like supporting each other's preaching missions, even though one person might not be into that preaching mission. Oh, it's okay. You don't have to. We're a family, but it's by the fruit. You see what happens. Are we making devotees? Are they understanding the essence of Krishna consciousness? That's what I see.
We can really start to fulfill Chaitanya's mission, spread the same tongue over the world. Or we could possibly be if that can take place then. There's no stopping us, they'll just get bigger, better. Yeah, that was me.
And you should be speaking to a mic in front of 10,000 people. Yeah, there's no stopping us. We're just going to get bigger and bigger.
It's like a seed that keeps, gurus, more disciples, more gurus, more disciples, more people. The cooperation grows, the positivity increases.
Yeah.
When you think about it, there's so many gurus that are.
Are you speaking to that, please?
So, we're fortunate. We're fortunate right now that many of the gurus were disciples of Srila Prabhupada. In next generation, there might not be that many people. There won't be that actually could have been Srila Prabhupada's direct disciples.
Yeah, practically all of us are the almost last batches of devotees, if you want to say batches of devotees, but batches of devotees who will take initiation from Srila Prabhupada's direct disciples. I mean, as of now, there are some disciples, like there's Srila Prabhupada, and then there's his disciples, and then there's disciples of Srila Prabhupada's disciples who are taking disciples now themselves, but not so many. But as time goes on, Prabhupada disciples, they won't be available to give initiation. So the devotees will have to take initiation from the next generation of devotees, which is happening already, but at one point it will be completely that. So, I mean, even now, the devotees here, they could take from other disciples of Srila Prabhupada's disciples initiation, but which is a discussion itself, because some people say, oh, I want to take from a direct disciple of Prabhupada, where some say, well, I'm going to take from a disciple of Prabhupada. Like, for example, Kadamba Kanana Swami, he's a disciple of Jayadvaita Swami, and he's accepting quite a few disciples. But anyways, I accepted initiation from this direct disciple of Srila Prabhupada, His Holiness Giraj Swami, 12 years ago. So I guess I don't have to think about that, but something for all of you to think about.
The potency is still there.
Yeah, the potency is there. I mean, in some ways, it's nice to take initiation from a direct disciple of Srila Prabhupada. But yeah, the potency is still there. So.
What is it? It will remain there if you're training good disciples.
Yeah, it will remain there. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, largely this idea, if we all positively get together and cooperate, then it's a faster expansion of Krishna consciousness and just happiness. Like devotees, social media is good in the sense that devotees are able to connect worldwide, they're able to preach worldwide, they're able to, do things like that. But it also could be a place to vent and fight and quarrel and disagree. And then devotees will spend all their time disagreeing with each other. Maybe they should try to go disagree with the atheists, try to make some atheists into theists. That might be a better. And they may say, hey, well, we're just trying to work things out here philosophically, and then we'll get on to our business of preaching, trying to spread Krishna consciousness. But a lot of the times it's just, I feel it's just too much, like internal conflicts and internal trying to wring out the philosophy, trying to understand things or come to conclusions, which most of the time a lot of these people don't come to conclusions anyways. We just kind of will agree to disagree. But I would say the world's on fire, people are suffering, so better to go and try to help people and not have these internal conflicts, which by having a positive cooperative relationship with all ISKCON gurus and disciples, that will happen. Right? Or like the principle of veganism. Now, I'm not. We're not. I don't think we have much time to get into that, right? Not that I'm against getting into it, but I understand there's devotees on both sides, right? And there's devotees who have different reasons why to practice veganism versus vegetarianism. But to get onto platforms and argue about it ad infinitum when so many people are suffering and struggling and not taken to Krishna consciousness, which theoretically we could help so many other people come to Krishna consciousness, then to spend most of one's time like that is better. Now, of course, there is room for conversing about these things and coming to conclusions. We have our own personal convictions, but I'm just saying I see there's a large leaning towards the other side, which is actually leaning towards negativity, which a lot of the times is the tendency in this world, right? We wonder why a lot of people are unhappy is because they're leaning towards negativity, right? Huh? What are the 3 C's? Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Comparing with others. What is it? Criticizing? What else? Complaining. Yeah, complaining, criticizing, comparing. Yeah, takes a lot of time. Okay, the last 3 quotes here. I'm so pleased with your. The Lord said, "My dear sons of the King, I am very much pleased by the friendly relationships among you. All of you are engaged in one occupation, devotional service. I am so pleased with the mutual friendship that I wish you all good fortune. Now you may ask a benediction of me. We actually went through this recently in the Bhagavatam here in San Diego, this shloka verse. Your love for me, said Srila Prabhupada, will be shown by how much you cooperate to keep this institution together after I'm gone. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself wanted our cooperation. He is God, Krishna, and therefore cooperation is a very important thing. Nobody should think that I have got so great ability I can do. No, it is simply by cooperation we can do very big thing. United we stand, divided we fall. I don't know if you knew Prabhupada quoted that, but he did. United we stand, divided we fall. This is ours, so be strong in pushing on Krishna consciousness, and Krishna will help. He is the strongest. Still, we must be combined together. All right. So we're pretty much completed. Can you bring the podium, Tyler? Right now? This podium inside? So our podium has been taken away. So that means ending class. That's true. Yes. Yes.
So there's a lot of like Srila Prabhupada said this, Srila Prabhupada said that. A lot of times I find it to be a distraction from them to execute devotional service, even if we should take Srila Prabhupada's words. Like, Srila Prabhupada said so many things to so many different people. And so, like, do you have like, what's your thoughts on that?
Okay. Well, that's true. Devotees will say, Srila Prabhupada said this, Srila Prabhupada said that. Trying to quote Prabhupada to justify or to solidify or to try to specifically back up what they're doing or what they're saying as a good thing to do or say. So one time Srila Prabhupada, it's a true story, he did say this, at least according to one of his disciples, Atmatattva Prabhu, who was in London at the time. So Srila Prabhupada, he was sick at the time, and he came down to the temple room. He wasn't there all morning, and he came down, and there's a bunch of devotees there. And then Prabhupada said, according to this devotee, he said, so, what did I say now? And devotees were like, oh, they're kind of confused, because Prabhupada hadn't been down there the whole morning. And Prabhupada said, no, what did I say now? The devotees kind of, no, what did I say? So then devotees, they were just kind of quiet. Then Prabhupada said that, they're saying, Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada said that, Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada said that. So he said, I'm just curious, what did I say now? But to say, Srila Prabhupada said, is not bad, but we have to actually be sure what Srila Prabhupada said in his books. That's the first and foremost in his books. That's most important. Then after that, there's the letters, lectures, and so on. Most important is books, though. So to say Prabhupada said, that's fine. But we should also quote Srila Prabhupada. There's a saying, right? You have to quote text in context, right? Now, if someone was to say, the most important thing is to take care of your health, Srila Prabhupada said that one time to Jadharani. Now, there's an argument there because Jadharani was, at the time, super sick and super neglectful of her health. So for Prabhupada to say, the first priority is to take care of your health, well, was he just referring to her? It's a big possibility because she was super sick and neglectful of her health. Or Srila Prabhupada, anyway, so many different things. So, but this to quote text within context, to quote Srila Prabhupada within context. In other words, we have to also do it honestly. We have to be honest with ourselves. am I just trying to like prove myself right here by quoting Prabhupada, or is this actually the right conception? Now, of course, there's so many great devotees. Big devotees means big, means important leaders. They also disagree on things, quoting Prabhupada. And they, may argue about it. And therefore, Prabhupada said we should all have a common activity. He said kirtan, chanting, and also going out and trying to spread Krishna consciousness. So, yeah, I wouldn't worry about it so much on a large ISKCON level scale, but within your own realm of influence and within your own realm of being able to make a change, or just within your own consciousness, right? Like Prabhupada would say, the most important thing is to save yourself. The highest realization is to save yourself. To try to develop the right understanding, which is based on honesty and sincerity of ourselves, our own honesty and sincerity, and try to learn what Prabhupada actually said and try to stand for what he actually stood for, rather than just trying to come up with all these arguments based on what Prabhupada said just to kind of suit our own sense gratification or materialistic ideas, or maybe modern, postmodern ideas, which Prabhupada may not agree with at all, but maybe we could take a few quotes out of context and say, oh, Prabhupada agrees, see? So we have to be careful. That's a little something. But yes, Tyler.
Is that concluded at that point?
Yes.
So it's about initiation specifically. It's on page 25. It says here that the Diksha Guru gives spiritual instruction, inspiration, formal initiation, a spiritual name, and later imparts the sacred Gayatri mantras to a qualified disciple.
Yes. Yes.
So I just wanted to make clear, it sounds like that same guru that gave you a name.
Yeah, there's a Diksha Guru, and he gives you a spiritual name, right? He chants on your beads, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. He gives you the beads. He gives you a spiritual name. Your name is so-and-so. You make vows to him. I'll follow the principles. I'll chant 16 rounds, right? And then later, when the disciple becomes more advanced, he gives the Gayatri mantras, which these are the sacred mantras one chants morning, noon, and evening, meditating on the Guru and Lord Chaitanya and Krishna. And that enables one to go onto the altar and do deity worship and so on. But it's the same Diksha Guru.
I guess that's my confusion. It's not second initiation.
It's second initiation. So there's first and then there's second. Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't clarify them. And then on the second initiation, then you get the actual
second initiation Gayatri, yes.
And that's all that's being received at that point during the initiation?
Yes. Yes, that's all. Yeah.
On the first, the second one. Okay, good. That was our hope for that first one. Get that karma out of that.
Yeah. So yeah, that pretty much concludes. There's 62, page 62. What did you learn from the course? You could do that on your free time. We haven't had any homework, but you could do that on your free time. Write what you learned when you go to your homes, wherever you live. You could write what you learned. So next Sunday, a week from now, there'll be a written test, which is like 3 or 4 pages, and it's short answer tests. It's like, it gives some question and then pick A, B, C, or D. It's multiple choice test. Is it true that the Vapu is more important than the Vani? Whatever, there's different questions. And then there's a few written questions, short answer written questions. So it shouldn't take too long, maybe, I don't know, depending on how fast devotees are, I don't know, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, something like that to take the test. So it'll happen here, and there'll be a proctor, and someone to be here to make sure everyone's not, hey, what's the answer to this? Cheating on the test. It won't be me. I won't be the proctor. so far somebody else has always proctored because whatever, I give a class and I don't think I need to proctor too. But so somebody else will proctor. Maybe it'd be Bhakti Chris. He did the ISKCON Disciples course. Anyways, we'll see. Yeah, I'll also be out of town this Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, visiting my family in Oregon and also the Portland Temple. But so I won't be here anyways. But there'll be someone here proctoring, and the test will happen here. So, would you like to show up at like 5 p.m.? Or like 4:30, or should we just do 4 like always? Maybe we should do 4 like always. I don't know. 4 because that kind of like we've always been doing that. Maybe that's better, more peaceful for the mind.
Well, I mean, is it easier for everyone to make it to at 4 because we're going to start a test?
I'm just thinking because the kirtan starts at 5:30.
Oh, okay.
So if you're here at 4, I guess 4 to 5, and you could attend the kirtan at 5:30. It's like another 30 minutes. Or you could hang around at the temple, or you could, go back. Yes.
Can I take my test later?
Yes. Yes. Later that day?
Yeah.
Like at 5 or 6 or something? Oh, at 7. Okay. Oh, so you're saying you could like directly come here? Well, we could also do it another day. I mean, everybody could do it. Everybody could take the test next Sunday at 4 p.m. But for you, there could be another day, and somebody who could proctor here, Because there's also, we have Rocky. She'll be listening to this later. She also has to take the test, and we also have Jeff. So he's from San Francisco, but he'll be coming down on August 1st or maybe a few days. I don't know if that's too long. What's the date today? It's 11th. Yeah, that's kind of a while. Probably want to take it sooner than that. But somebody here, if you come by the temple someday, we could arrange somebody, get sitting here and take it. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, and I completely forgot like multiple times, and I actually should have told everybody before, because that's what I always do. But then I kept on telling myself, okay, next class. But usually what we do is that, to print the course material, and then, the certificates and this and that. There's a people, they pay something for the course, which all ISKCON Disciples courses are like that, whether you're in LA or here or there, India, wherever you go. There's some, because it's actually kind of expensive to print these at FedEx, to be honest. Those guys kind of, yeah, the binding, they're kind of like expensive. But anyways, but generally what devotees have been doing, actually the devotees listening, I told them somehow, but I keep on forgetting to tell everybody here, but Rocky and Jeff, they paid something through Venmo. Just sent it to my Venmo or whatever. But yeah, usually the last few courses, devotees would pay like $25 for them. So I don't know if it's too late to hey man, you already gave me the course, so thanks a lot, buddy. Yeah, it's Balaram Das SD. So if you like to Venmo, you could Venmo, or you could whatever, cash, or yeah, Balaram Das SD. Balaram space Das space SD. So yeah. That's there. So sorry I didn't tell you. I was completely forgetting every time, but and also after the test, everybody will pass the test, by the way. Means I think everybody here will pass it. And even if devotees don't pass it, means they kind of like mess up with some questions or they forget some terminology. What I've been doing, and it only happened a few times in each course. There's been 1, 2, this is the third course. Devotees, sometimes they forget the terminology or this or that. So what I've done a few times is I just sat down with the devotee or two who were having difficulties with the test. Maybe they're nervous or something. So I just spoke with them and said, made sure they understand, kind of went through the test, made sure they understand. And generally they understand, but then just kind of they become confused, writing things down or kind of. But then we'll also have certificate giving. Maybe you saw that last time at the temple. We did the last 2 times. So we'll pick a special day here at the temple, and it'll be like on a Sunday night as part of the Sunday feast, maybe Radhastami. My spiritual master might be coming then, so maybe he could give them out to everybody. That'd be nice. On Radhastami, which is September 13th, or some other day like that. So we'll have a certificate giving ceremony for the devotees. So I think everybody gave me your first and last names. I already have that. So we're going to make certificates, and then they'll be giving them out. And then you'll have your ISKCON disciple certificate. And then in the future, if you're getting closer, when you're getting closer to initiation, if that's what you want to pursue, you could say, I have my ISKCON disciples course. Kind of check it off the list for when you want to get initiated, if you want to get initiated in the future. So, I think Jean, you had your hand up. No, okay.
Are we gonna do the Vaishnava etiquette course pretty quickly after this meeting? Because that's also required, right? It's not required for initiation. Okay.
That's a Bhakta Vaishnava etiquette course. You could do that with Damodar.
Oh,
but I don't think everybody's doing it here. I think it's just you two. Okay. That's part of to become a brahmachari.
Great.
To become a brahmachari, ISKCON disciples course, brahmachari course, Vaishnava etiquette course.
I'm remembering that for the brahmachari course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
All right. Huh? And for married people? Well, we have a few courses for brahmacharis, for them to become brahmacharis. We have some devotees, Alex and Glenn, to get their saffron cloth tonight. But for married devotee, for people, living on the outside, there's an ISKCON disciples course. Damodar Kumar has also taught a Vaishnava etiquette course. It's nice. And there's those 2. And there's other courses like Bhakti Shastri. That's, studying all of Srila Prabhupada's books. That could be online or in person. There's different reading groups, like they start at the Krishna Lounge. We were thinking about maybe starting like a Bhagavatam, kind of certain parts of the Bhagavatam, going through them, but yeah. So. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. I think just show up for this about the course if you want. But you could just show up for the test and take the test. But the certificates, it's nice if everybody's there to get the certificates, because it's encouraging for us, the people, who took the course. It's also encouraging for the devotees in the temple and the leaders and the devotees in general. Also, we could take a nice group picture. So if you could show up for that, that'd be good. So, all right, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you.